So you want to be an entertainment journalist, but you don't know where to start. That's where I come in. So for anyone who's new to this channel, my name is Jillian, and as you can see, I have a lot of different videos on here of me interviewing a lot of my favorite celebrities, and I cover all things entertainment and lifestyle here in Las Vegas. And then the other part of this channel is my sister and I doing interviews with people in the community. We sit on this couch right here behind me. I thought it was the perfect backdrop for today. So I do a little bit of both, but it has always been my dream to be an entertainment reporter, and I did it, but I never really had a rule book of how to start, where to go after college. So I thought I would do a video and just kind of talk candidly about my experience and hope that it can help anyone out there who wants to become even just a news reporter, anchor, but I'm gonna talk specifically about entertainment news and lifestyle news because it is a little bit different. But to get to where we are now, we gotta go back a little bit. So I was very lucky that at 14 years old, I knew what I wanted to do in high school. I would watch E! News every day. Juliana Rancic, she was my idol. I looked up to her. And I was also lucky that my high school here in Vegas actually had a morning news broadcast, and they would actually, I'm aging myself a little bit, but they would slide the TV in on the cart every morning, and we would all tune in at a certain hour and to watch what's going on in the school, and I would anchor that. So I bet if I looked back now at some of those videos, I would definitely laugh. But it was a great way to get started and also kind of let me learn at such a young age how to already start like perfecting my craft. So again, not everyone knows, and maybe you have to go through some more schooling to figure out what you want to do. But if you're like me and you've always known you want to do red carpets, you love movies, TV, reality shows, all of that, you got to start now. It's so funny, I'm used to talking to a camera with a teleprompter or even being live out in the field and having to be so polished. So I'm still getting used to kind of being like comfortable. I'm sitting on the floor, being able to flub over my words, and it's not the end of the world. I think it speaks volumes for the people that can just be who they are on camera and off camera, and that's who you relate to most. So that's my tip of the day, not to get too preachy, but let's go back. So let's talk college. There are a lot of great journalism schools in the country. Syracuse, Mizzou. I know USC has a really good communication school. I went to Arizona State University. Shout out Sun Devils. I've actually met so many Sun Devils here in Vegas that went to the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism too. So that's where I went. It's a great program. So, you know, you still take your gen ed classes, but you start in the journalism classes right away. And then after your freshman year is when you kind of determine, do you want to go the PR route? Do you want to go the print route? Or do you want to go the broadcast route? Which I think is really cool that you can kind of see, there we go, specify which, see, now I'm getting messed up because I'm not used to messing up a word and then it throws me off. So it's all right. We're all human, right? Okay, anyways, I think it's really cool that you can kind of choose which path you want to go down, and you can always go back if you don't love, you know, PR and you want to try print or broadcast, whatever works. So 4 years at Arizona State, actually 3 years, 3.5. I'll come to that in a second, but really hands-on. College years are important. And then as you go on at ASU, you get to be hands-on. You learn how to shoot, how to, you know, frame things up. I remember learning wide, medium, tight, and how to put together a package. Let's pause there for a second, because if you hear the word package, you might not know what I'm referring to. And this is really helpful if you're trying to break into the industry. So remember these terms. A VO is a voiceover. So think of when you see a video on screen, or even if you're making TikTok and you're showing video and your voice is just talking over it. That's what a VO is, voiceover. Pretty straightforward. Let's do a SOTVO, sound on tape, voice over. Okay, we don't have tape anymore, but this is still what we use in the news world. So sometimes you'll see in a news rundown VOSOT or SOTVO. So basically, let's say I interview somebody. I recently did an interview with Garth Brooks, and I put a SOTVO into our show. So a SOT, sound on tape, comes from my interview with Garth. So I use maybe 20 seconds of his interview, and then we go to a VO, voiceover. And then I kind of wrap up, you know, do a continuation of what I just showed you with Garth, and then it's my voice talking over other video after that. So that's VO or VO, and then a SOT or SOTVO or VOSOT. It can go either way. Also, a NatVo is nat sound, which is something that you pick up as you're filming naturally, or maybe it's a sound of a song to lead you into an interview with an artist. NatVo. And then finally, a package. A package is kind of a combination of VOs and SOTVOs, and you piece it together to tell a whole story. And in news, we get a little bit of freedom and flexibility being in entertainment, where sometimes those can be longer pieces. In a traditional newsroom, sometimes packages are only about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. But in my line of work, I get to have a little fun with it and do a little bit longer. But packages is basically putting it all together, your report, into one and creating a full story out of it. So remember that. VO, SOT, package. Those are the 3 really important terms to think about if you want to get into the news industry. Back to college. So wherever you end up for school, I just keep referring back to ASU because that's what I know. I think it is 100% so important to dive into your work, take everything seriously. You will learn a lot there. But I gotta say, I learned the most when I did my internships. And so I'm from Vegas, but I went to school in Arizona, but I would come home over the summers. And growing up, I would always watch Channel 3, it was NBC station, Kim and Dana Wagner, every morning before high school. I felt like, did anyone else in high school watch the news every day? I'd be eating my Eggo waffles. And so the reason that I bring Kim and Dana Wagner up from Channel 3 is that when I came home for the summer, I just cold emailed Kim Wagner. I told her that I have been watching her for years. I really look up to her. I'm from Las Vegas. I'm home for the summer and I want to do an internship. And she got back to me, which is really, really cool. So that's my biggest tip for internships. Reach out. Follow all the news stations that you're interested in on social media. Even at my station now, when we're looking for interns, we post on our stories and say interns wanted for the summer or semester or whatever it may be. So sometimes I think it's a little overwhelming to even know how to get an internship, or you feel like you have to know somebody, but I didn't know Kim personally. I just emailed her. I kept it personal. I told her that I was a fan and she connected me with the person in charge of internships. So internships, super important. I learned so much, even from the one summer that I was at Channel 3. So going into that, here are some tips that I have when it comes to internships and what I even see in our current interns now that I think kind of make or break if you're going to be successful. Tip number 1, sounds simple, but if you're on time, you're late. Be early. In the news world, timing is everything, especially when you have live shows, you cannot be late. Also, my next one, I don't know if everyone feels this way, but I always say dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. I would never come in looking messy or like I didn't try. I didn't want to look like an intern. I wanted to look like a reporter there because that's what I wanted to do. So I remember every day I would come in dressed like if they said, you're gonna be on TV today, that I would be ready. So if that's something you wanna do, show up looking the part. It really, really goes a long way. And my third tip is say yes to every opportunity. Stay late if you're offered to do something extra. If you get to shadow a reporter for the day and they allow you to, learn how to do a stand-up. Stand-up, it's the part of the package, as I mentioned earlier, it's the part of the package where the reporter speaks on camera to either lead into it or act as a bridge, sometimes in between, to kind of piece it together, and then a closeout. So when you see people in the studio and they send it out to a reporter who's covering an event, you see the reporter first, that's your stand-up, go to the package, end it, that's your tag out stand-up. Stand-ups are important. So back to the internships. I remember going out with a few reporters who were so nice to me and knew that I was eager to learn, and I would be out with them all day and they said, here's a pad of paper, write down what you would say as your stand-up, and then he would do his and then I would follow suit and I would do mine. And I even used some of that in my reel tape. We'll get to reel tape. Who says tape? That's just what they call it. Just a reel. It's like a Dropbox link, not a tape. Oh my gosh, I'm aging myself. I turned 30 and I'm like a granny now. Okay, anyways, I just feel so strongly about internships, no matter what they are. And I really think that that's the way to learn. It's great to be in a classroom and you read textbooks, and we're lucky with journalism, it gets to be a little bit hands-on, but do the internships, go the extra mile. And all I can say is that internship led me to my first job. It wasn't easy for me when I graduated college. I mentioned to you that I graduated in 3.5 years. My senior year, Arizona State decided to do this sports reporting bureau set up in Santa Monica, and they chose 6 students to go live in Santa Monica, still be ASU students, but go out there and get to do sports reporting. I thought I wanted to do sports. I always knew sports and entertainment kind of went hand in hand, and there really wasn't much entertainment in Phoenix, so I thought sports was kind of the next best thing. We got to cover some cool events. I got to go to Dodger Stadium, and I actually got to interview Maria Menounos on a red carpet, which was just a full circle moment. So that was really cool. And then I ended up graduating early, and I was like, I'm ready to go to the real world. I had had 5 internships by the time I graduated, and had this really cool experience at Arizona State that was unique. And they tell you all through journalism school about how you have to climb the ladder, how you have to start in a small market. Let's talk about markets for a minute. Each city is categorized by the amount of people who watch TV, and that's called the Nielsen TV markets. And so as a starting journalist, you usually start in a market 100 or smaller. They kind of go from 0 to 200. So anywhere under that 100 mark is where you go to learn. And you usually spend about 2 years, and small markets could be Bakersfield, Yuma, Amarillo. That's what probably anyone will teach you in journalism school, that you have to do it that way. I'm a strong believer that you don't have to do anything a certain way, but that is what's always been said. That was not my path, which we'll get to in a second. But just so you kind of understand, when people say small market, Vegas is considered a medium market at number 40. The top 3 markets are New York, LA, and Chicago. But again, sometimes the market size doesn't always matter depending on what you want to report on. So for me, Vegas is a great market. And if I went to a larger market, maybe that didn't, was more people, but didn't have entertainment, I wouldn't be getting to do what I'm doing now. So just keep that in mind when people say you gotta go to a small market, you gotta go to a small market. And I know a lot of people who have done it that way, and that is 100% fine. It doesn't have to be everyone's path. And I think that's the biggest thing when I look back on my college career, is all of those professors really instill that in your mind. And you know what? Don't let anyone tell you have to do things a certain way, because you can get creative, and that's what I did. But after college, it wasn't easy. You have to put together your reel, tape, as I said earlier, but basically a compilation of all of your experience. That's why doing as much as you can in college is really important, so you have something to show when you're going to apply for those jobs. It's not just, here's my resume. You have to have something to show, which is always kind of like the chicken and the egg. Like, I need the experience, but like, you have to have experience to get the experience. It's very frustrating. So I remember thinking, I want to do entertainment, and I don't want to go to a small market. I just know I won't be happy there, and I want to start now because I want to work towards that end goal. I know I want to do entertainment, lifestyle, news. That's my passion. And so I started applying all over. I remember I interviewed even at TMZ, and just nothing felt right. And I started to get down on myself. And I went a few months. I was lucky that I had a family that, supported me as I was finding a job. Which is not always the case. So I'm so grateful for them, especially during that time period. But anyways, I applied, and then I got so desperate that I started just applying to those small market jobs. Not that that's desperate, but it just felt like I was going against what I believed in. And over time, friends, parents, everyone was like, why aren't you getting a job? Like, you graduated, you went to this great journalism school, and it's like, I graduated, now what? And that was me. So it was almost about 6 months, and I was ready to give up. I started looking into PR. I actually had an interview set up for a PR firm in Vegas. I was still living in California from that bureau, I was still living in California from that bureau program through Arizona State. I thought I was gonna stay in LA and live this great, fancy life, but that didn't happen. So anyways, I got a call from Kim Wagner, and they were starting up a new show at the station, and it was lifestyle and entertainment, and they were looking for a booking producer behind the camera. I was like, what? But I said, let's take the interview. Let's see what this is all about. So I learned about it, and it was for a booking producer, which books all of the guests that come on to a show. And that's actually very important when it's entertainment and lifestyle. But I would not be in front of the camera. This would not be a reporting job. I was coming in as a producer, and it was the 4 a.m. shift. So I would be working 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. which they tell you about that in school, but you don't know until you're in it of how rough that schedule really is, especially when you're 22 years old and you just want to live your life. But I felt like this was maybe the path I was supposed to take. It was in entertainment lifestyle. It was in my hometown city. It was a full-time job. And I thought, you know what? It's better to just get my foot in the door. And let me just tell you now, it's almost like I wish I could look into that crystal ball into the future then, but I'm in it now, and it was the best decision I ever made. As a producer, they were starting up this new show maybe a week after I started, and they wanted me to book guests, and they said, go ahead. I had no guidance. I was really thrown into the fire. Luckily, I had learned how to use iNews or ENPS, whatever the news system was, in college and at my internship. So just remember, all those things you learn will pay off one day, because when I started that job, there was a little training, but it was pretty much, here you go. And I reached out to one PR person that I knew through a family friend to help me get started and get connected in the city. And within 2 weeks of working there, I booked Snooki to come in studio, Donny Osmond, and Carrot Top, like all back to back. And I said, okay, I'm figuring this out as I go. I won't bore you with all the details over the years, but my biggest advice for anyone that wants to get into the business is don't be closed-minded. I ended up going in on the weekends and I would film. Luckily, I made friends with the production crew. I came up with an entertainment segment where I got to be in front of the camera, and I would come in and I would film and I would practice. And once I felt like it was ready, I put it together. I had a meeting with my news director and I told him that I wanted to do this in our lifestyle show, and he let me. So I had my big break. That was about probably a year and a half into me being there. I still had to do my other booking producer job, but I got to be on camera. So you can do it. That is something that I am still so proud of to this day. And I think that it kind of set me up for the rest of my career after that. So again, I was very grateful that I had a news director who was open-minded. Some people are very traditional, so don't let that get you down. But I also think, I mean, that was 7 years ago. I feel like now newsrooms are starting to accept that not everything has to be so traditional, and with social media, there's so many other opportunities. So go for it, and if you feel passionately about something, do it. Okay, I had to cut it there because I was just rambling. I'm wrapping it up with, I'm so excited that there are future entertainment journalists and reporters aspiring to do this out there. It is one of the best jobs in the whole world. You can do it. I believe in you. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe and follow along with everything that Miranda and I are doing. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.